What's up, everybody? So, it has been a hot minute since I posted a video on this channel. So, I do apologize for that, but um, yeah, it has been a hot minute since I did that, or have done anything of that sort. So this video is really going to be about what you see in front of you. It is an Inspire 2. The Inspire 2 is a DJI product. It was released in 2016. It replaced the Inspire 1. You can literally go online and watch hundreds and hundreds of reviews on the Inspire 2, what it is, what it's used for. It's more for cinematic type filming, photography, that kind of work, and that was the whole intent behind purchasing this bad boy here. This was purchased used, and we purchased this from a gentleman or somebody. It was an eBay purchase from a guy in Idaho, I believe. I think that's where it was located. It was used for a few years up there, and I believe from the few things I have found on this particular unit, it had been, I don't know, crashed, damaged, something, but there was definitely something going on with it when I received it. The description of this particular bird said that the camera was generating this. This is an X5S camera. So the Inspire 2 has three different cameras that you can use with it. You can use an X4S, an X5S, and an X7S. The major difference is the image sensor size, the type of lenses that you can use with it. The X4S does not have interchangeable lenses. X5S and the X7S do. Okay, this is really getting kind of annoying. I'm going to put you in full-on sport mode to shut you up. And the reason why that's given me that is because I don't have satellite reception in here, and this thing's running. So, yeah. All right. I'm going to turn you down. I don't need to hear you. Shut up. Be quiet. So, anyway, Inspire 2, it's a fairly large drone. It's got 15-inch props. Be quite honest with you, it's quite intimidating to fly. The reason being is, I say intimidating. It really shouldn't be. I've flown race quads before, and my big Hex before, and I've flown, my Phantom 4. And to be honest with you, Phantom 4 is like a teddy bear. It's not hard to fly at all. This one, yeah, it's a little bit more intimidating. I think it's just because I'm just not used to it. It's way more maneuverable. It's very, very sporty. It's got a top speed of 75 miles an hour. You put this thing in sport mode and she just boogies. It's intended to track high-speed vehicles, along, if you're doing cinematic work and you're doing a high-speed chase, this thing will do it. So, but that being said, this particular drone I call it a drone. It's a multi-rotor. I hate the word drone because it's not a drone. It's a multi-rotor. It's got more than one rotor. Anyway, but I digress. So this particular package came with a flight case, which is pretty badass. Came with flight case, 3 pairs of batteries. Yes, this has pairs of batteries. 2 sets of props. Did not come with the iPads. I had to purchase those separately, which luckily you can. I picked those up on eBay for $70 a piece. Imagine that. These are iPad Air 2s. They're strictly used for this. They are not going to be used for anything else. So it's strictly for flight control and camera control. This multi-rotor came with 2 remotes, 1 and 2. This is your primary. This is your flight controller. This one is your secondary or your camera controller. Camera controller basically has, I'm going to give this one control. I can completely control the camera. You can kind of see what I'm doing here. And there we go. It has complete camera control over the camera, the gimbal. The one thing I don't have out is this thing over in the corner right here. Oh, this dude here. This is what you call a focus wheel. That hooks up to your secondary controller right here, and it allows you to control the ISO or your aperture. So it'll adjust your ISO or your f-stop for you, just by moving the wheel. So that's kind of nice, but you can fly this and operate the Inspire 2 with just 1 controller. You lose a little bit of functionality with gimbal control. I think you can control the gimbal. You can control it up and down, but not left and right. So the last problem I have is my FPV camera. So the Inspire 2 has your main camera, which is the X5S, but it also has an FPV camera. It is a low resolution, super low resolution camera that is strictly used for navigational purposes. So yeah, it's not that great. There are mods out there that you can do to it to get you a better FPV experience, but I don't know if I want to do that. I've printed out some parts to try and convince myself that's the route I want to go, but I don't know that yet. Let's see. So the bird itself. This particular Inspire package came with problems. And I think that's what's making me a little bit apprehensive about it, is I have a sinking suspicion that it's been crashed, but it wasn't disclosed that it was crashed. And the reason why I say that is the listing noted that there was an issue with the firmware for this camera. The guy could not get an image. As you can see, I've got the image working, but that came with a lot of work, a lot of research, some diagnosing, but ultimately it came down to just some disassembly of the craft itself, which, mind you, it's not small. What's cool about the Inspire is the legs fold up. They're automated, so it gets like a meter off of the ground, and the legs actually go from here to here, and gets the propellers and the landing gear out of the frame of the camera, which you can do. I think this thing's got a 720 degree rotating degree on the number of degrees it can rotate for the camera. I think it rotates 720 degrees. I could be wrong. But if you're flying along and the legs are up, you will not get the legs in frame, which is the whole purpose of this. This is an aerial video platform, so you get high quality video, and it does really, really well. It's got it's got a spot for an SD card, but it also has a spot for an M.2 flash storage in the back. You have to have a license from DJI. You can purchase a Cinepro or a ProRes license. I think that's what it is, and they're quite expensive. I mean, they're really, really expensive. I don't see myself purchasing a license for this for the kind of work I'm going to do. However, you can record at higher resolutions. I think you can record at 5K or 6K with those licenses activated on this device. So, let's see, how's the temp on that? Ooh, yeah, it should get a little warm. So, the reason why I say it's getting warm is this is where the flight controller is right here.
Come see Daddy Lava.
So this is where your image processing is. Sorry for the pause. I had a dog intrusion. And if you don't have airflow going over it, it tends to want to get a little warm. And we've got the camera going, so it's processing video. But this particular drone, multi-rotor, god damn, I slapped myself in the face. This particular multi-rotor, Inspire 2, the guy wasn't getting any video out of this. It gave him an air encoder error. It was a 0x40,000 error, kind of a general error. And a lot of people said that the issue was nothing more than this. This is your gimbal mount, which then plugs into the side of your processing unit, which is this whole piece. This is your flight controller, your image processor, everything. Plugs into this side over here. So one of the other errors I discovered was not only was it not getting video, I could not format the SD card. The SD card is right in that little slot right there. Could not format it. It would read it, but I could not format it. So, after a lot of research online, which surprisingly enough, there's a lot of articles, forum posts, stuff about the Inspire 2. But there wasn't enough of the same type of issues to kind of guide me along in the right way. Although one of the very, very last things I ran across was a guy that encountered kind of the same issue, but I think it was the exact same issue. But it turns out my issue was it generated the same error, but it wasn't because of software. This was a physical problem. So this gimbal controller, this gimbal mount, has two wires coming out of it. It's got one that runs on this side over here, and a set that runs over and plugs in on this side of the flight controller, right over on this side. There we go. And I had full gimbal control. I had full absolute gimbal control. I could move it. I could do everything. I just could not get a video out of it. So I'm like, screw it. I'm going to take it apart. But before I started taking it apart, I ordered one of these in. Because I'm like, look, it was only $80. $80 for this piece. It came with brand new rubber gel-filled dampers. Everything. So I'm like, look, if it doesn't fix it, I'm only out $80, and I'm gonna have to send it back to DJI so they can resolve the problem. Because at that point I didn't know what to expect. So the part comes in. I start taking this thing apart. I did a bunch of research on how to take it apart. It's not really that hard to take apart. I mean, I've built drones before. My big Hex I built. So this type of repair didn't scare me a bit. You get you a micro tool set, a magnetic, one of these to capture your screws, and you're pretty much good to go, just as long as you can remember which screws go where. So luckily I remembered. But you have to pull this entire chassis apart. The frame itself disconnects from the landing gear. I mean, it's pretty simple. There's a set of screws up here, a set of screws in the bottom. You pull all those out, and literally this whole airframe drops down, and it detaches from the landing gear. Landing gear stays all in one piece. It's nice and neat and tidy. So when I was pulling things apart, I noticed that I got to this side over here, pulled the nose cone off, pull all this thing apart, and the wires for the camera feed up through the bottom here and up through here, and they are really close to where the image processor, this dude right here, mounts to right in this location right down here. You can kind of see where it mounts, right here. There's a set of screws on the back side. What had happened was that there's a fantail. If you know what a wiring fantail looks like, it's a bundle of wires, and then it has all of the wires exposed on the end, and it's got this little circuit board looking thing, a little mount that all those wires kind of mount into, and it's probably no more than an inch or so across, and all those wires run into it. Well, that fantail, now mind you, these wires are exposed, was smashed in between where the processing unit, which is like right here, and the airframe mount together. The wires were smashed in there, and the mounting screw was driven through that fantail. So all those wires